Hey guys, what's up? It's your hostess with the mostest. Yes, your girl Queen coming back at it with another book talks. So I've decided to try something new today. And by try something new, I mean to talk slower. Because I realized me trying to talk as fast as I think is just not working out. I'm tripping over my words and it's not classy. So we're not gonna do that. But other than that, I have come to you guys with a video that is long overdue. I should have actually made this video months ago, but we all know how that ended. So I'm bringing it to you today. So today we will be talking about a book that I read kind of recently. Like I've read it within the last 7 months. So I'm not all there yet. But I want to get this video out because, you know, I said I would, and so I want to do that. Today, the book we will be talking about is Let's Go Swimming on Doomsday by Natalie C. Anderson. Okay, guys. So it follows a 16-year-old boy named Abdi, who, in order to protect his family, has to go undercover in a terrorist organization. And basically try to uncover their plans, their truth, and their people. In order to do this, Abdi must walk away from everything that he's ever known, and he must become someone whom he never thought he'd have to be. Okay, like, just let's talk about the plot, guys. So, first of all, the plot itself is, I mean, it's heartbreaking. I don't think a story like this can be told without it breaking, you know, hearts. Because Abdi honestly is a child. But due to where he lives, which is, if I'm remembering this correctly, he lives in the Congo. The background of this all is Abdi lives in the Congo, and the Congo is basically having a civil war between the government and the boys, which is basically a terrorist organization that is trying to overthrow the government. They recruit basically children, and they turn them into child soldiers, and they use those children in order to fight against the government. Abdi has been a victim of this once before. His eldest brother, Dahir, was actually taken a few years before, and they all had assumed that he was dead. Unfortunately, what comes back to Abdi is that not only is his brother not dead, but he is actually one of the leaders in the organization. He's moved up in the ranks of the boys, and the CIA, which is the basically the American government or whatever, is using Abdi as a way to infiltrate and destroy the boys, hopefully. So Abdi is being forced to go into this criminal organization because if he doesn't know what will happen to his family. His family has been threatened by the CIA, and they have told him that if he doesn't do what they say, if he doesn't get information on the boys, if he doesn't help them stop, you know, their movement, then, you know, his family might possibly die, or they might possibly not. Like, honestly, the biggest fear for Abdi is he doesn't know what's going to happen to his family. And so I went into this book knowing that I was gonna cry, because just the synopsis of it, like, I knew this was gonna be a book that was hard for me to read because I just don't like reading about people's pain, which is funny because, like, all of this behind me is just pain. It's just so much pain, and I just tend to find books that are gonna gut me. And so I knew I was gonna have a hard time reading this, but I really wanted to, you know, I really wanted to get into it. I really wanted to read the story. And so eventually I got the audiobook, and I was listening / reading it. So I would listen to it at work and I would read it at home. This book literally got to the point where I just could not physically read it anymore because I knew it was like I'd reached a point where everything was bad. Like, everything was just bad. And then I knew that at this point, you know, it was only going to get worse. And I find it so hard to read just like about despair and just sadness. And I just like, let me listen to it and maybe it'll hurt less. It didn't. It didn't. I still cried. So, yeah. So let's talk about the characters. So Abdi obviously is the main character of the book, and I find Abdi to be such an admirable character. He is a child who is forced to, you know, forced into situations that most children hopefully would never be in. Abdi is forced to decide what is and isn't morally right. He has to decide what he comes to a point where he has to weigh what the worth of a life is, and that's something that most people don't have to, you know, do. But it's like the fact that he's a child and he already has to make that type of decision, it's really heartbreaking. Abdi has to darken himself, taint himself in order to protect his family. He has chosen to do the unimaginable as long as it means that he will be able to protect the ones he loves. And while that is admirable, it also is heartbreaking, because the things that Abdi has to do are things that you can't just walk away from. It's not something you do and then you forget it the next day. These are things that will haunt him probably for the rest of his life. These are decisions that once they've been made, he can't turn back on them. And it's because he has to do it, you know, it's like, you might not agree with, you know, the choices that he made, but I don't think it would be fair to criticize him for them. I think that in this world, we are all just trying to survive, and Abdi was just doing the best he could to make sure that not only he survived, but his family survived. And actually, now that I think about it, it's not even his survival. At certain points, you see that Abdi no longer cares about his survival. His survival means nothing to him. As long as he can protect the people that he wants to protect, then he was willing to throw his life away. And it's just like, bro, like, I'm sorry. And it's just like, it sucks to see him being manipulated after, you know, every time he finds, you know, he thinks that someone's trying to help him, he's just being manipulated even more. He's being manipulated by the US government. He's being manipulated by the boys. Like, if Abdi never trusted anybody else in his entire life, I would understand why. Because no one has ever really given him reason to trust him. But it's the fact that not only does he not, you know, distrust people, he's still able to open up even after, you know, everything that he's been through. And I find that to be, I love that so much, because it's so easy to turn your back on the world when the world has already turned its back on you. And he didn't do that, and I really appreciate that about him. And the ending was bittersweet. It was the best ending that I could get from this situation, and so I appreciated that. But that doesn't mean it didn't hurt. The ending still broke my heart. Just thinking about it, like, I'm tears, and we're not even like, I'm not about to cry on camera because that's not cute. But it's just the fact that the ending was so sad. It was sad, but at the same time, I still felt hopeful for it. It still gave me a sense of peace. I was happy about that, because if I went into this book and it was just despair, and then the ending was just like, oh yeah, more despair, I would have like, no, nah. There's the fact that this book was so much just despair, but it was so much despair, and yeah, the ending wasn't like all that happy. It wasn't a perfect ending, but you know, it's still an ending that I think a lot of people would be satisfied with. The characters in this book are simply amazing. I can't remember all of their names, but when Abby is with the boys, he meets a couple group of kids who honestly have their own troubles. You know, you understand the reasons why they are there, and these kids, they're like, it's a weird dichotomy, because it's like at one point they're like ruthless and they're doing what they have to do, and another moment they're joking around, laughing and making jokes because they're kids. And it's like, it's really weird, because it's like, you're this but you're also this, and it makes them very complex but very interesting characters. This is a book that I think is phenomenal. Like, if I had to rate it, I'd give it 4 out of 5 stars. I cried, I laughed, I enjoyed every moment, and I think that's what a good book will do. It's an important read, because it also allows you to see that outside of your bubbles, there are many things going on that you probably are aware of, or you're not aware of, or maybe you're aware of it, but you just don't know the extent to it. And reading this book really kind of opened my eyes to that. Yeah, people struggle, you know, outside of me. I'm not the only one that's struggling, and compared to them, my struggles don't seem as important or as bad. And I know you're not really supposed to, like, judge or compare struggles, but, like, if I'm being honest, my story and his story, his is way worse. It's way worse. But I think this book is phenomenal. I really love this book, and I can't wait to reread it. And I think that anybody who really is interested in, like, just world affairs, or just walking around in someone else's shoes, even just for a couple hours, because I think this book is only 13 hours long, I think it's a great read, and I think anybody would really enjoy it. And so this is a video that I promise you guys that I get out. I'm putting it out. Whether you decide to pick up this book or not is completely up to you. This is just my take on it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye. Hey guys, I know that the video is supposed to be finished, but this is me after editing, and I realized that I said something that wasn't necessarily correct, and I wanted to correct myself. So I said that the boys got their soldiers from recruiting, when that's not necessarily the truth. The boys actually take children, they kidnap them, they brainwash them, and then they turn them into soldiers. That's how it works for most children. On the other case, there are some who become affiliated with the boys because of their family and stuff like that. But for the most part, for the majority, most of those kids are, you know, being kidnapped and manipulated and turned into soldiers. And I wanted to fix that, because recruitment and kidnapping are two different things. And I don't like the fact that they messed it up. So yeah, that was it.